Jekyll Island, November 1910. 7 bankers meeting in secret to create America's central bank. We just can't call it that.
The 1907 panic nearly destroyed us. Banks failed, fortunes vanished.
We want to control America's money supply, create booms, trigger busts, and profit from both. And how will we do that?
We'll create money from nothing, loan it to the government, and charge interest. Legal counterfeiting, my friends.
But there's a cost. Every dollar we print steals value from existing dollars. It's a hidden tax that flows directly to us.
And it gets worse. If we ever get off the gold standard, governments can print money for wars. Endless wars become possible and profitable.
Since Americans hate central banks, we'll call it the Federal Reserve. Sounds governmental, doesn't it? It's not.
The president will appoint board members, but we'll pick who he appoints. We'll have 12 regional banks. Looks decentralized, democratic even, but New York banks control them all. That's us.
You're probably wondering how we're going to get this through Congress.
December 23rd, 1913. Most of Congress home for Christmas. Perfect timing for passing unpopular legislation. I'll publicly oppose our own bill in Congress. They'll pass it thinking they beat Wall Street. We'll fund university chairs, write the textbooks. They'll teach our system as economic science. Beautiful. Every American born after this will inherit debt on money we created from nothing. Generational servitude.
The Federal Reserve. Not federal, no reserves. But everyone will think it's their government protecting them.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Steel News. I'm Ann Vandersteel. It has been very busy around here. If you're keeping up with the MMTLP story, you see that monster story getting its due. Frankly, it's getting viewed by millions of people. And I'm seeing more and more people coming forward about similar episodes of collusion by the Securities and Exchange Commission and basically just taking down the little guy. But, you know, I've been fighting for the restoration of our republic for a long time. And Americans keep asking the same question. When did everything go wrong? I mean, like, it didn't just happen yesterday, as that's very obvious by the amount of corruption and the swamp, how deep it is. But we need to be asking these questions like, when did freedom become conditional? When did government stop serving the people and start managing us? I mean, this is what we're walking ourselves into, it seems, with this whole AI Palantir takeover of the bureaucracy, which, again, doesn't do anything to represent us. When did our property rights, when did our bodily autonomy and even the thought of itself come under attack? The truth is, it didn't just start back in COVID. You know, we were getting an eye-opening and a fire hose of reality during the COVID dumb period, I call it. That's when everybody threw their brains out the window and started separating themselves by 6 feet and walking into restaurants with masks on and then sitting down to eating dinner in the same restaurant, taking the mask off because COVID lived up here and not at the dinner table. It was just so ridiculous. So none of this, I mean, it didn't start with COVID. Frankly, it didn't even start with the climate policy with Al Gore and the inconvenient truth. And it didn't start with the last and the most latest elections. According to my guest today, it started more than 150 years ago. Michelle Melendez is a 5-time award-winning author, a longtime wellness and freedom advocate, and she's the founder of Stand Together Hawaii. Many of you know her from her work exposing land and sovereignty issues in Hawaii, but her newest book expands far beyond a single state. It's called The Death of Freedom: What Happened to America and How to Save It. She has a foreword that was written by G. Edward Griffin and an endorsement from former Navy SEAL and CIA officer Michael Jaco. This book traces the hidden legal, financial, and psychological mechanisms that transformed America from a constitutional republic into something totally unrecognizable. Michelle joins me now. Michelle, welcome back to Steel News. It is a pleasure to see you. And thanks for, taking the time to go over this, because I couldn't find I think this is such an appropriate time to have this discussion, considering some of the stories that we're breaking all over the place about corruption that's just rampant. And clearly we're not in control of our government. It's corporate America, or we say global corporate special interests. So thanks for being here. Michelle, I think you're on mute. I'm not hearing your audio for some reason.
Okay, is that better?
There you go. Now you're back.
All right. Oh, yes. Aloha, everyone. Mahalo again, Ann, for having me. This is a very important topic, especially with going into the new year, because people need to understand how this happened. How did we lose our freedoms? Because we really did. And we can gain them back, but it's going to take numbers.
Yes. It is going to take numbers. So let's talk about, the numbers here, because in your book, you open up with what you call the corporate coup of 1871. For people who've never heard of that term, bring us up to speed as to what happened and why does it matter today? Because I think once people understand that concept, the numbers are going to just magically materialize. People are going to get on board.
Yes. So what happened basically 1871 was the creation of the District of Columbia. And they took Washington and Georgetown and they created a 10 square mile radius for Congress. And that's where the capital is. And they wanted it to not be in the sovereign states. They didn't want any sovereign state to have power over the capital. So what happened was this area, this 10 square miles, started creating agencies, and those agencies ended up being put into the sovereign states, and that was started to become the rules, the policies, all of the basically the statutes of what happened with our freedoms got dismantled because of this corporation. And if you even look up, if I can do a screen share, I can actually show you guys where it says the United States is located in the District of Columbia, because the United States is different than the United States of America. I've told people this, and some people go, oh, no, that's short for the United States of America. No, it's not. Those are two separate things. The United States is located in the District of Columbia, and the United States of America, those are two different things, is under the Constitution, which is still here. It's still here, but people need to invoke it. And people don't know that they have that power. They don't even know that the Constitution is gone when you go into the court system. So
that's very true, because you actually write about that each state is actually two states. Explain what you mean by that legally, and how Americans are really unknowingly operating in the wrong one, because we have two states and you have really two versions of you. You've got the corporal God, you, the man, the woman, and then you have your legal fiction. So explain the difference between the two states, because I think it kind of runs in parallel.
Yeah, they absolutely run in parallel. And you're not going to legally find a definition saying that there's two different states. But when you look at the structure and you look at the rules and the permission, instead of freedoms, we have permission under the state corporations. That's basically telling you a story that you're not going to legally find in the legal definitions. But the state corporation, which runs the court system, and I have one of the chapters is on the court system and on money. And when you walk into the court system, why it's designed the way that it is. Nothing is done by accident. In fact, President Roosevelt actually said that. He said, if it happens in politics, it was planned that way. So what happened was the corporation, every single state is a corporation. That's what the Great Seal is. It's all corporatized. It's capital letters. It's basically even the court system has the Great Seal of the state, which is showing you that it's a corporation. It's corporatized. So what that basically means is that the rules apply for the corporation. The policies apply for the corporation. Now, just to give you guys an example of what this means, a friend of mine Captain Matt, who was 30-year firefighter, retired fire captain, who was in my book, Great Maui Land Grab, he is definitely pushing the envelope because he was driving without a license plate. So in the Constitution, we have a right to travel. But when you apply for a driver's license, you are literally putting yourself under the corporate system. And when you register your car, what is registering? Registering is giving permission to the registrar, which used to be the king in medieval times. It was the king, and now it's the state. It's the corporate state that you are literally registering your car through their agency of the DMV. So he didn't do that. He was driving without legal plates, and then he got pulled over, went to the court system. If you do not invoke the Constitution in the court system, you are under their policy. You are under their permission. So what happened was the judge waited till everybody was out of the courtroom. He told me they even had to actually kind of kick some people out before his case came on board. So then his case comes up, and the judge tries to tell him his rights, and he stops and he says, "No, I'm a living man and I have rights under the Constitution." He looks up, and the judge walked out of the room. The judge left the room. And so he was about to say, the judge has vacated his office. This case is dismissed. The bailiff comes up, turns off his microphone. The judge comes back into the room, and the judge starts to plead for him. You can't do that. So the judge starts to plead. He says, "You're going to plead not guilty, and this is going to go to," and they're arguing. I heard the audio. They're arguing back and forth, and he's saying, "You cannot plead for me." And so there is another court case. The officer doesn't show up. It gets thrown out. But the gist of it, you guys, is that the corporate system is here, but so is the Constitution. And if you know that and you invoke the Constitution in the court systems, that does supersede the corporate power that they have. But they just want you to not know that and to keep thinking that these statutory rules that they have, that they call laws, if they violate the Constitution and we invoke the Constitution, they supersede it. The Constitution is supreme law of the land. But if people don't understand that, then they go into the court system, they lose every single time. But if they invoke the Constitution, that's where our power is.
Correct. And Jem on YouTube, he agrees. He says we must take back our role of, by, and for and by the people. Jem, you're absolutely right. I wanted to show this to you because just the other day, Maureen Steele and I, my co-founder at American Made Foundation and American Made Action, were proving the point that you just made. Every state has a corporate identity. And this is right here, a Dun & Bradstreet number. This is an email dated December 14th. So 8 days ago. Here it is, the following DNB number for the state of Florida. And there it is. This is your DUNS number. Like you said, we're sort of living in duality at this point in time. And we have to know how to operate in the right jurisdiction because it is a question of jurisdiction. And we see a lot of that in these cases. Oh, you don't have standing, you don't have, it's not in the jurisdiction. People can make jurisdictions work for them and work against them. And, this is where I think people have not been educated properly. They haven't gotten all the information so that they can fight these battles and stand up for themselves. Because in the meantime, we're getting run over. So let me, sorry, 1 second. I've got a brand new monitor and everything is all jumbled up here. My son had to actually come over and help me get it set up because I couldn't get the screens to extend. I think the tech has now escaped me. But so let's move on here. When you're talking about registering the living, right? One of the most disturbing chapters in your book is titled Registering the Living. Talk about the birth process when you have a baby, registration of birth, like registering a car. What happens to the identity and the financial status? I mean, is this a fleecing of your natural rights without their consent? Because, when you have that baby, they throw a bunch of paperwork in you, you're signing stuff away. And the next thing you know, you're in the system, you've got a social security number, you got a birth certificate, and you think it's great, you have a birth certificate. But what if you actually consented without knowing to give away?
Yes. Well, you're actually you're putting that child into the system under a fictitious name, which is their all caps name. My birth certificate is in a picture of it's in the book. And I blew it up because it's on, all birth certificates are on security paper, security paper. And mine in the lower left-hand side, and you're gonna need a magnifying glass because they don't want you to see this, but it says Midwest banknote on my birth certificate, Midwest banknote. Basically saying, this is a security bonded paper. This living entity has now been turned into a corporate fiction, which the corporations can now use in their system. But again, I go in. So the Declaration of Independence says we are endowed by our Creator with unalienable rights. And then what happened is, and I'm just going to go to the 14th Amendment really quick, but I do want to come back to the registered birth because I do want to share two more things on that. But what happened after the Civil War, the 14th Amendment turned us all into citizens of the United States with permissions, with permissions that were given by the government. So we went from a Declaration of Independence with unalienable rights under God, our Creator, living men and women, to 14th Amendment citizens. And people go, and this is why there's documents. Are you a U.S. citizen? Yes. Now you just put yourself in their jurisdiction under their permission and control. And then, but the birth certificate, what happened with that? There's two other things I want to share. Midwest banknote is on my birth certificate. It's a security bonded agreement. The second thing is, oh, great. You have that one up. The second thing, well, let's go here since you have this up.
But let's talk about this, because right here where it talks about privileges or immunities, it doesn't talk about your natural born rights. You have now exchanged your natural born rights as a citizen of America or a citizen of Florida, New York, wherever you're from, for the privilege of being a U.S. citizen. And when you have privileges, that means you typically have liabilities that need to be funded, like Social Security and welfare. And if there's anything we've learned after the last 4 years of a wide open border, is that the privileges of being a U.S. citizen was being extended to the people coming across the border, and we were paying for it. We weren't getting that privilege, right?
100%, absolutely. And this is what people need to understand, is this is what put us into this system. Not only that, but if you go down to Section 4, the bankers now are in our Constitution. It literally says that any debt shall not be questioned. This is why they have to bail the banks out. So the banks have been, I love that video that you put at the very beginning of your show, because that was absolutely 100% correct. The bankers are the ones that literally created this coup and this illusion of power by the government. And they're actually in now the Constitution, because it literally says that we cannot question any debt that the bankers have. So the U.S. government has to pay it back under your the people's taxation. Is that's what it's all about. And also, I love that you had the Federal Reserve up there, because that's not part of the government. It's not part of the government. The IRS is literally the collection agency for this out of the government elite banker business of the Federal Reserve.
So Jeffrey Majors, who's here on YouTube, is asking a question. Is that where the bail-in, bail-out comes from?
Yes, I believe so, because this is in the Constitution, and it literally states that the government cannot question any of the loans by the bankers. So we have to pay that back. We, being the people, through our taxation, have to pay it back through that way. But that's the other thing people need to understand, is the Federal Reserve is not part of the government.
Right.
So who are we really paying? And people go, oh, Michelle, we're paying for the roads. No, we're not. No, we're not. The taxes that we pay for don't go to the roads. They go to the Federal Reserve, which is owned by the private banks. I do want to talk just one more thing around the birth certificate. When you look at your birth certificate, you will see mother, father, and then you will see informant.
Informant. Yeah.
Guardian, not guardian. What is an informant? If you look it up in the dictionary, informant is literally saying you're telling on somebody to authority. You're letting authority know of something. You're giving something away to authority. That's an informant. And then the registrar, which again used to be the king, because things were registered to the king. Now it's the registrar, which is the corporation.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you expose in your book how money contracts and financial instruments are operating in a hidden legal language. Is this why people are losing their homes, their pensions, and investments without ever seeing a courtroom?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, this is also what's happening in Hawaii. They've actually created a law, a biosecurity law, where the government can come in right now and take your properties, confiscate it with no due process and no warrants. And this is a statute, this is a law, statute law. But again, this goes against the Constitution. So if people fight it correctly, invoking the Constitution, that's where our power is. But if people don't know how to do that, this is the last book, second to last chapter is Saving America. With this is Jack and Margie Flynn are helping people to understand the language around how to invoke the Constitution. I've written it in the book as well, because once we get that we are actually under God, not under the government,
Right.
and speaking correctly, that's where our power is. And also the other thing too I want to share is that we have power through citizen memorandums sent to our legislative body, telling them what it is that we want. Like, we are writing citizen memorandums. Our governor last year tried to mandate the full entire vaccine schedule for all children to be able to go to any school, he wanted to take off all religious exemption. So we're putting on a keep vaccines optional event here, and I'm going to have three citizen memorandums there. One is that people have the right, their parents have the right to do whatever they want with their children. The government cannot tell them what to do. The second one is the biosecurity law. We want to remove the section where the government can come in and take your property. And then the third one is citizen memorandum that I'm bringing to that event to keep vaccines optional. The third one is we have to rein in our governor, who has signed 90 emergency proclamations here in the state of Hawaii. He has suspended over 40 laws without legislation, without due process. This man is absolutely out of control. So that's what we're going to be doing here on the state.
Another question: can it just be proclaimed that they're violating my constitutional rights?
Yes, you can say that, but what really there's no citizen memorandum, affidavits, and then changing the laws, getting bills passed. That's what's going to hold more power. You can say that they're violating your constitutional rights, absolutely. But I don't know really if that question's coming from, can you go into court and say that? You can say it, but again, if you don't understand the language, this is why, you guys, check this out. This is why lawyers have to pass the bar. Okay. Why is it a bar? In the courtroom, there's a bar, and you have to open the gate to get in to their system. They count on the fact that you do not understand this language. And if you just go in and say you're violating my constitutional rights without really understanding the language of the system, it's not going to fly as well. As you have to understand the language of the system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much that is coming out. I mean, there's so many great broadcasters right now that are breaking this down in great detail. I myself corrected my status back in 2021, and I took myself out of the U.S. citizenry, and I'm still an American national, still can vote. But I am not part of that jurisdiction. I have very clearly supplanted myself outside the federal jurisdiction because I don't work for the federal government. And I'm not going to be a party to the crimes that they continue to commit overseas on behalf of our tax dollars. It's not how I'm going to play their game anymore. And I think more and more people are waking up to that. One of the things that I think is really, really sad, Michelle, is that the Constitution, as you describe it, has been desecrated and not amended. So can you sort of walk us through how it was sidelined and who benefits from Americans actually no longer understanding that we're really operating under U.S. code and no longer as a constitutional republic? We're operating as a corporation, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, who benefits are the banking elite families, for sure. We'll never know the top the top families. Like we say the Rothschilds and but we don't really know who they are. We'll never really know who they are. And also I just have to say, the president he's got some power, but not a whole lot. The whole system is rigged, you guys. I really hate to say this. The Republic Democrat, they don't care who you choose. They just want you to choose one to play the game. That's the whole, that's what's scary about it too. People, want to believe in a savior, but it's actually us, the people, who are going to save ourselves. How it got desecrated was, or basically our freedoms died October 26, 2001, with the passing of the Patriot Act. And this act, you guys, sat on the shelf since 1995. Joe Biden actually wrote this. It was a anti counterterrorism act, and Joe Biden wrote it, and it was called the I'm not going to say this name right, but Bus Counterterrorism Act. He wrote it in 1995, and then in 2001, it was actually changed. The name was changed to the Patriot Act, and it just destroyed our Constitution. It destroyed so many things. They can hold people without due process. They don't have to tell them why they're being charged. They can go into churches or other organizations and get lists, email lists, phone call lists, address lists, without having to tell them. It's called a sneak peek, not warrant, but a sneak peek into the finding the contact information that they need. So many things about the Patriot Act that violate the Constitution. It was just riddled. But again, we can bring it back. And I do want to give people hope, because I feel this is some type of spiritual war. And we have to follow what we say here in Hawaii. I live on the Big Island. We have to follow our kuleana, do what's ours to do, follow our guided intuition, and keep going, because we can take this country back. It's just going to take numbers, doing citizen memorandums and getting into the county councils and saying, no, we do not comply.
So is it more about local action, like General Flynn says, getting involved locally? Because the 10th Amendment gives us protection from the overreach of a federal bureaucracy. And, everybody's so enamored with Washington, D.C. and the drama that's going on up there. And, a couple of the good people are leaving, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's out. She's done with the crap up there, because it's really futile. I mean, and it's fighting over the Epstein files. Yeah, they should have released it, but they're just now laughing at us. They're gaslighting us. I mean, that redacted release was just more gaslighting. Essentially, they don't simply care. Right. I broke a story last night about the SEC. They don't care. It's out in the open, and they don't care. And the only way they're going to care is if we literally show up and take, I don't want to say take matters into our own hands with violence, but we can't leverage the judicial system that we have now through them, because it's completely corrupted. They're not following the Constitution. Right. So it's really like we've got to run in parallel. And I mean, I almost believe that the only way to get out of this, Michelle, and correct me if I'm wrong, is President Trump's executive order that he has yet to write on the election, on elections with respect to the machines. He's got to get rid of those machines so we can go back to a paper ballot, hand counting, same day, 1 day voting, voter ID, smaller precincts, more of them, and literally count the votes in 1 day on paper. And that's it. And who wins, wins. And we can replace a lot of these slugs, these rhinos and dinos that are just taking the money from the lobbyists that have nothing to do with our best interests. It's all about the corporations. Is that really the only way out of this? Because otherwise it's going to get violent. I don't see another way around it.
I agree with that for sure. Here on Big Island, there was 19,000 unaccounted for ballots. Like, we don't know where they came from. There were, 19,000
like added into the system.
Yes, nobody knows where they came from. There was nothing. Does
that mean the ballot count was higher than the voter registration count?
Yes, and these
never seen that before.
This state is absolutely over the top with corruption. I was told that the mafia runs the islands here, but that is definitely one thing that will help for sure. Also, again, I just have to go back. Citizen memorandums, and then the last thing I want to share too is the thing we talked about the last time I was on, which is your general plan. You guys have to look at that general plan, because here on the Big Island, we were going to every single meeting for over a year telling our legislative body, our county council members, showing them how the general plan violates the Constitution, how it brings in the UN goals that are outside of this state. You cannot have something outside of the government influencing your general plan. That's actually it makes it a treasonous document. So you guys look at your general plan, and it's the easiest way to do this. And you did this last time, Ann, is ChatGPT. What constitutional amendments is my general plan? Put in your county general plan violating, and that will let you know. And then you can create a citizen memorandum through that. You can get your local people, because local is our power. We cannot change the country. We can change our local environment, our local counties. And then it's like a trickle effect. The more of us that do that, but you do need numbers. So get your community, get your neighbors on board with taking action, going to county council members. And the first thing, you guys, is look at your county, look at your general plans, look at what's coming through them. Because here, what we had for us on Big Island, we had important agriculture being rezoned to natural land, which was going to basically put a noose around the farmers' neck, and they're going to have to jump through more hoops and hurdles just to grow food. And that was just one thing. They wanted to take out all gas, all diesel, and just put electric in. And we are on an island, and the people that actually ship the cars, they're called Matson. They will not ship any more electric vehicles to the islands unless they can be assured that they're not fire hazard. And it's like, so there was so many things about this general plan that were absolutely out of control.
So I just pulled up mine, Martin County here in Florida. This is just ChatGPT. I haven't validated, done any more research, but this is just I just did what you said. I just put it in chat to see. And so this is framed in constitutional, not statutory terms. So this is what are they violating constitutionally speaking when they imply or use the general plan? Fifth Amendment takings clause, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Violations occur when the general plan restricts land use to the point that economically viable use is destroyed, imposes zoning, conservation overlays, or future land use designations that devalue property, conditions permits on exactions unrelated to disproportionate to the alleged public impact. They've got cases right here in their 14th Amendment due process violations. I'm not a fan of the 14th personally, but hey, if you can use it against these jerks, why not? Yep. The 9th Amendment, retained rights of the people. Well, of course, they're violating our rights nonstop. It's never ending. Florida Constitution. Wow, this general plan goes into a lot here. This is pretty impressive.
Yeah. So what I would do with that, Ann, is I would create, you could create an affidavit. I created an affidavit through that, using that system.
Yep.
And we actually submitted it to our county council. I actually brought it to the mayor. He actually was calling us conspiracy theorists. And then when I called him out on that on my own broadcast, YouTube, and he gave me an hour of his time. I brought in a stack of information sharing how our general plan violates the Constitution. He paused the plan. He paused it. Then he said it has to go through the county council. We kept going to county council. Now I'm in touch with the county chair, and she's revising the whole thing. You guys, you have to understand, this is Big Island. Our general plans are usually 50 pages. The past 4 general plans in the past 50 years have been 50 pages long. This one was over 300 pages with over 400 actions. And they're like, first of all, how are we going to do all these actions? And why is this 300 pages when our general plans are usually 50? So she's changing it. So that's what I'm saying, you guys. That's our power. Our only power is local. Get to your county councils, see what's coming. Because if you don't, your children's future is going to depend on that.
So just while you were sitting there, I said, hey, chat, make me an affidavit. And this is what it popped back up with. I mean, you don't even have to get crazy. But here's an affidavit of constitutional violations based on the above violations that ChatGPT, suggested were being violated right in the county in which I live. And so, I mean, again, I'm I would literally spend hours digging to make sure that all this stuff made sense to see if I
Yeah.
can find more or eliminate, whatever. But this
Yeah.
is just cursory, right? It does all the work for you. There's no reason why you can't print this, take this, get it notarized, go to your bank. They'll notarize it for you for free, have it
Right.
signed, and take it to a county commission meeting. This is what you're talking about, Michelle. This is actual we the people civic duty governance. This is what our Constitution is really clear on. When you pull out your little pocket Constitution, which I have a copy of right here, the very first three words are we the people. It's not we the government, we Washington, D.C., we the swamp, the World Economic Forum, or the UN, we the people. And our job is to tell these public servants what we want them to do. So
That's
what
right.
you're suggesting is bringing in a sworn affidavit saying, hey, this is what you're screwing up with right here, and I'm swearing to this. And then
Yes.
I would follow it up with, what do you want them to do? Fix it. Don't
Yeah.
do these things,
In
right?
fact, that's actually what we did. We actually took it. There was about 5 of us that took 50 pages, or I think it was 70 pages each, and we actually went through it and we changed it. And so we actually sent them that information. But what's amazing is our county council chair, because she's like, I don't want this to go through on my watch. And we had a couple of them say this. They're like locals. They didn't know. These people, all they were going to do was just put it through, because 300 pages, who reads that? They were just going to keep putting it through. But
Yeah.
so many of us kept going to every single county council meeting for over a year, like I said, and we're really fought it, and now it's being changed. You guys, we do have power, and you just got to keep going. Got to be tenacious about this and keep going, because they are banking on the fact that county council members and other politicians aren't going to read through it.
That's right.
They're
That's
banking.
exactly right. And here's the thing, when you look at the IRS and when you look at, you want to open a business, all the paperwork, from the ordinances and everything you've got to do just to start a company, everything you've got to do, it's a tax on top of tax on top of tax. And it's paperwork to the point where you don't even know if you've done it right, because how do you know? They now have cottage industries around people doing things to show you how to do paperwork for whatever it is you're trying to get done. It's so insane. So here's the thing, we can fight fire with fire.
Mhm.
It's called being a paper terrorist, because that's what they label us. Bring in these affidavits, bring in what the calls to action that you want to see changed based on the general plan. Like Michelle just said, go to chat, ask chat for the county that you live in to present the general plan, and ask it where it's violating your constitutional rights, and see what it says.
Mhm.
And then you can bring in an affidavit, and you can bring back your, calls to action, what you want to see change. Start hammering these people back with paperwork. You know why? Because frankly, when the government went, belly up and they weren't funded and there was nothing going on, did anybody miss anything?
Mhm.
I didn't. So, and the majority of people I've spoken to, I've yet to run into somebody that said anything. Now, granted, our military, these are special circumstances. But if you go back to the Constitution and the Article 1, Section 8, the 19 enumerated powers of Congress, and, besides getting us funded, the only things we're supposed to really be concerned about is like military, post office, and a few other things, coining money and regulating that, trade, et cetera, and determining if we need to go to war. We don't need all the superfluous stuff that's happening all around us. So shut it down.
That's right.
Look at the mess the SEC made of over 100,000 stock owners worldwide. A little company, MMTLP, that was part of a reverse merger. They punished these stockholders and bankrupted people, ruined lives. People committed suicide over stuff like this. So I'd say, let's give it back to them, Michelle. Let's just shove this paperwork down their throats.
Absolutely, 100%. And you guys need numbers. So get your neighbors together. You do meetings. That's what a client of mine is doing, some meetings to bring people together. Because guess what? In the book, Death of Freedom, I actually have 3 citizen memorandums you can use. One against the chemtrails. I live on the Big Island. We don't have a lot here. We do have some, but when I went to Nevada, I was floored at the amount of chemtrails that you guys have over there on the mainland. So
Yeah.
there's an affidavit. Citizen memorandum again for the chemtrails. There's also a citizen memorandum for the climate change narrative, because that is totally bogus. You can go to World Climate Declaration, I think it's .org, and you'll see over 2,000 credentialed scientists from around the world have signed a World Climate Declaration saying there's no climate emergency. So there's the chemtrails citizen memorandum, the climate change narrative, in that citizen memorandum for the climate change narrative, I talk about the fact that there's thousands upon thousands of weather modification patents, as well as showing different proof that this has been used on the American people. And then the third citizen memorandum that's in the back of the book, The Death of Freedom, is the requesting that there be an investigation into COVID-19, because there's so many court cases with Dr. Peter Mercola and other doctors, as well as Mike Yentz, I think, who was, he used to work for Pfizer. Yep, there it is right there. Stating that the COVID-19 needs to be questioned. So those are the three citizen memorandums you guys can use. I give them to you in the book. I give you guys links, and all you have to do is print it out, get your people together, and send them to your legislative body.
I love it. Let's see here. I'm trying to grab, let's see. Here we have this. Okay. This is your book that we're talking about right now, The Death of Freedom, What Happened to America and How to Save It.
Yes, it was, yeah, #1 new release on Amazon.
Part of the, part of the problem that we're facing right now really is, it's the media, but the media, of course, has been controlled for a long time by the CIA. And the CIA and FBI, they use mind control and influence programs. They've been doing it for a while. It's why we call our TV programs, because they're programming you. It's not shows. You notice we don't talk about Steel News as a program. We call it a show because we're just showing you stuff, right? You decide. Tell me why it's important to include this in your book, and how does psychological conditioning actually keep people compliant?
Thank you so much for that. Yes, the CIA and FBI mind control programs have been going on since the 40s. The Nazi German criminals, war criminals, were actually brought here into the United States through Project Paperclip. And basically they had, they paperclipped their German identity with the new US identity. And they created Big Pharma, they created NASA and some other organizations, as well as the CIA. But the reason why I had to put those in is because people question so many things that I share, and I had to show you guys, this is why so many people are confused. This is why so many people don't want to believe this is happening. It's because of mind control. I mean, they have, Project Mockingbird, which is one of the very first ones, was about the news, all the news and propaganda saying the same exact thing. That's Mockingbird. But they also have the television and the blue screen. Why in the world did Congress care? In 2009, they said you had to change your television into digital, is because the frequency of that new television creates more mind control for the system. That's why people had to change it. So that's the reason why I wanted to bring that in. I also put in undisclosed experiments and vaccine warnings in a chapter. And the reason why was because people have to understand that it's a scary thing to see, because they've been experimenting on the American people since the 30s. But it's something we have to see. And when we look at that they've been doing this for a long time, we can understand a little bit more about chemtrails. What is chemtrails? Well, they had Project Sea Spray that they did in San Francisco, where they put bacteria, they sprayed a bacteria over the city just to see how far it would go, what would happen. And literally people died because of that. It was totally non-disclosed. And now they're doing this chemtrails. So that's the reason why I put that in, as well as because COVID is also another experiment on the American people.
And that it is. So your book goes into a lot. COVID, we just mentioned, climate. You talk about climate policy is less about the environment, more about control, carbon credit, smart cities. I mean, these are all things I think people are finally waking up to. But I want to pull us over to the financial taking side, because the story that I've been talking about now that's going viral, MMTLP, this is a stock. I'm not sure if you saw the pieces that we put out recently about this company that essentially had a reverse merger. They created a Series A stock ticker called MMTLP that was going to exchange 1-for-1 for a new company that was being spun off from the reverse merger of two companies. They were going to spin off another company and give anybody that held the stock over here a 1-for-1 into this new company. Well, this stock ticker was never supposed to trade, Michelle, but some evil people in FINRA, the Financial Regulatory Authority, and some of the broker dealers, the people that hold your stock certificates and trade for you. I don't want to name names, but people like the Schwabs and Fidelities, not singling them out, just using them as a for example. Somebody was working inside of FINRA to get that ticker trading in Canada on the over the counter. And while these two reverse merger companies, the CEO said, "Whoa, what the heck's going on? We didn't authorize that. We didn't file any paperwork. We're going to spin another company off and we're filling out paperwork for it." That was supposed to allow these shareholders over here to get, a 1-for-1 stock split from this new company. They started trading this company over here and they went crazy. They traded millions and millions of shares that were never issued and basically tried to short the stock. And when they got caught in the short, because the stock people are now buying it to, driving the price up, they then collaborated, and we have the emails of smoking guns to show that they couldn't allow that to happen. They had to keep the stock in the broker dealers. They couldn't let this company bring the stock back home under their transfer agent, because it would have exposed all the naked shorts, the shorts that didn't even exist. They were synthetic shares they made. That has been exposed. So I need you to help my audience understand, because this is the big story that's all over my X feed. It's all over my social media. They're pretty much paying attention to it. Talk to us in terms of the parallels with the financial takings that have been going on and on and on. How does that sort of set up the situation that I just explained to you?
Oh my gosh. So back in it was the early 1930s, I think. The panic, it was the bank panic. In fact, I have right here, but that actually happened because the Rothschilds went in and started buying stock, and it was because of the war of Waterloo. And if Napoleon had won, then a certain stock would go up, and if Britain had won or England had won, then the other stock would go up. So he started buying. He basically finagled the whole thing. And he started buying stock when he should have been selling. And then when people found out that the war was actually won and Napoleon had lost, that the stock was reversed. And so people started selling. And then he bought it at the stock at a very, very low rate, low price, and just skyrocketed his income. And this has been going on for a very, very, very long time, you guys. These bankers have finagled the whole stock market for just since the beginning. I mean, that's what they do, and that's what they know how to do. They're the ones that caused the Great Depression. They're the ones that they know how to mess with the numbers so that they gain and people lose. And so that's the other thing that the book shares, is that we need to go on to a different timeline as far as getting in touch with your local farmers, creating barter systems in your community, and actually start to live outside the system. So, or as little in the system as possible. And that's something that Hawaii basically has taught me as far as living here. My family's been here for a very long time, and just being in community here is so different than when I go onto the mainland. It's like, do you know your neighbors? Do you know, like, are you comfortable with them? Get in touch with your farmers. Get in touch and try to barter as much as you can. We actually have a barter system here, an online barter system here, where you can actually barter for different things, and it's all tracked online, and it's a system that the community is using. It works really, really well, and that's something to get out of the system, because they want you in it so they can control it.
That's right. That's right. That's why, owning physical gold, physical silver, stuff like that is just so much, it fortifies me mentally to know that I can be out of the system and I'm not dependent on that fake fiat money, because at any point that's going to change. And I think there's a major rug pull coming. I think President Trump is trying to manage the decline, and he's definitely trying to manage us out of this old school financial system. There is a reset happening. And if you're not paying attention, this is one of the greatest wealth transfers that is happening. It's going to make COVID look like child's play, but it is happening. And there's an opportunity to do well in it, and there's an opportunity to lose everything. And it comes down to paying attention. But what you're talking about is fortifying your everyday activities of daily living by bartering, by knowing your farmers, by being able to produce things of value to your neighbors and your family. And that's critical right now. It's almost like we're kind of going backwards in time into the Stone Age, while AI and everything else is taking off. If you want to unplug and don't want any part of that, you have to ground yourself with what you're talking about.
And this is part of the Hopi prophecy. This is the Hopi prophecy actually talked about this.
That's
and
right.
there were going to be two different lines. And one was going to be more electric, more AI kind of thing. And the other one was going to be getting back to nature. And here's the other thing too. The last chapter in the book says your mind can bring back freedom, because people don't understand that the mind and the heart, when they sync together, that's where our manifestation power is. And we have not been taught this. There is a frequency field. This is not empty space that's around me and around you. There is a frequency field that feels our energy.
Yeah.
When people are confused, angry, frustrated, separated, it doesn't align with what it is that they want in their heart, in their mind. But when people actually get off the internet, put your phone away and put it on sleep mode and walk in nature, you guys, walk in nature 5-10 minutes a day, get off of this stuff. Your body will not only feel better, your mind and your heart will be able to sync up, and then we bring back freedom that way as well.
I do it every morning. I do 7 miles every morning. I'm walking out where there's deer everywhere. Literally, we've got 100 or so deer where we live. That it's just this herd that's around. Horses are everywhere. I see certain birds with beautiful pink spoonbills. I mean, I literally connect with nature every day, and I love it. And in fact, if I'm going to indulge on social media, this is dorky, but I'm going to tell everybody. I don't care. I'll get on Instagram and I follow all these farmers and animal channels. And that's literally what I scroll my feed with on Instagram, is that stuff, because it brings me joy to be around that. If I can't get it out there, then I'm going to get it here. That's what I'm going to focus on, just to take a break, because it's a toxic battle that we're in. It's very biblical. And I think the advice you're giving here is really solid. So Michelle Melendez, I'm going to give you the last word here. What do you want to leave our audience with today?
Hope. There's a reason why you're here. The infinite creator, great spirit, God, whatever you want to call it. You were brought here for a reason. It's not by accident. Follow your kuleana, which is follow your heart. You're being guided. Take action. Don't think that someone else is going to save you. The person who's looking at you in the mirror, that's the person who's going to save you. So it's taking action with the things that we can do, citizen memorandums, and then get in touch, get your community together. And then the last thing I want to share is clean up your relationships. If you're angry with somebody, if you're farting with somebody in your family, clean it up. Forgive yourself, forgive others, because that frequency of love is no joke. It is something real, and it can bring back freedom. So start with yourself, be in relationship with your family, be kind, and then take action against these demons, because I think that's what they are. But the more of us that do that, freedom will come back, you guys. We have to believe it will. Trust ourselves, trust in the divine creator, and trust in people like Ann, who are so graciously great. I'm so grateful for allowing me to come on and share this message with you. So mahalo nui loa, thank you so much, and mele kiliki maka, which is Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you. Mahalo, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas as well. I can't say it in Hawaii, but I love the way you said it. Thank you. Okay, everybody, you can check our book out here. It's The Death of Freedom. And best place for folks to get it is at deathoffreedom.com, deathoffreedom.com. It's been scrolling below on the screen. It's also linked in the description if you're on YouTube or Rumble. You can catch it there, but deathoffreedom.com. Michelle, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. All right, guys, thanks so much. I'm going to continue to work on the story on MMTLP, because that is going. I did submit a permit to set up a press conference at the Securities and Exchange Committee building in Washington, D.C., and I'm waiting to hear back. In fact, the folks that I connected with jumped on it immediately. They were forwarding it up the chain to the right people. So hopefully we'll get that scheduled. I'm shooting for January 12th. I will definitely let you know if that is going to be a go, and if so, at what time. I've asked for 10 to 11:30. We'll be there with bells on. I'm sure we'll see a lot of the MMTLP community there, as well as, many podcasters and mainstream media. This is a big story, and it's building, and there's more information we're going to be bringing out. So by all means, follow the feeds, look at the hashtags MMTLP. This community is so powerful. They really are the tip of the spear here when it comes to, I think, fixing the problems with the financial system, government in general, agency government, the corruption, the backslapping of the revolving doors of agency and industry. It is so egregious what has happened, and I'm glad that it's finally getting some attention. We're going to keep pushing it up the food chain, as they say, to some bigger platforms, so that hopefully we'll never see this problem again. In fact, if we do what Michelle suggests, we, the people, will take back the government. And a lot of this corruption in DC, we're not going to have to pay attention to it anymore, because the 10th Amendment has rights as a state, and you have rights under the 9th Amendment. And we don't need to be bullied by a bunch of bureaucrats up in DC. You know, freedom, it doesn't vanish in one dramatic moment, guys. It's actually buried under the paperwork, and it's redefined through the language that we use. So manage the fear. And, you know, don't let the fear rule you. Remember, fear is designed to do exactly that. Michelle's book, The Death of Freedom, it's not just a warning, frankly. In my book, I think it's a map of how we got here and how we can get out. So if you've ever felt like the rules changed without your consent, I definitely pick up a copy of this book, because she explains it why. And frankly, her work reminds us that freedom isn't granted by government. It's granted by the Almighty, and it's claimed by the people who understand it. So I highly recommend getting a copy of her book, The Death of Freedom, deathoffreedom.com. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I hope you all have a great afternoon, and we'll catch you next time. God bless.